and it very much feels like a vindication for Frank. It was a performance he needed. It was almost a result he needed because of all the good work Frank has done up to this point with the restriction of the transfer ban, in trusting in younger players who are going to give you poor performances but can give you amazing things if you give them patience and give them time. And I think that's the most incredible thing for me about the performance, was that some of those young players who Jose has admitted would have never played in his time as manager were stars. They truly were. Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Tottenham 0, Chelsea 2. Christmas has come early for Chelsea fans. Frank Lampard absolutely schools Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho, I'm sure, is worried now because that was an incredible performance by Chelsea. The best of this season, I think, in many aspects. Definitely the best defensively. Frank Lampard not only got a performance that was everything Chelsea fans dream of in these games, and the result and the way the game played out was absolutely the way we dreamed it would, but I think tactically, that's the thing I want to pinpoint today, because Frank Lampard and Gary Neville, I think, perfectly summed this up in punditry, was that an English coach coming up against a foreign coach. We know Jose Mourinho. We know the class he has in tactical performances, what he can do. Frank Lampard, for me, what he did today and was able to get out and was able to execute in the lead up to this game was a Jose Mourinho-esque away performance against his big side. This very much to me felt like an old school Chelsea performance that you'd see under Jose when we were going for titles. When we go to a difficult away ground, we'd nullify the away team, we'd silence their crowd, and we'd be deadly when the chance came. We were a bit more proactive in the sense that we did have a lot more of the ball. It wasn't so defensive. This was by no means a counter-attacking park the bus display. But what I want to allude to is how right Frank Lampard got it today. Truly astonishing. And I think for Frank, it's a massive day. You saw how much it meant to him at the end. It was pictures I think we all dreamed of when Frank Lampard became Chelsea manager, him going away to a place like Spurs and getting a positive result and celebrating like that and connecting with the Chelsea fans. But I think the added element, of course, of Jose Mourinho that none of us could have predicted a couple of weeks ago adds that nice sort of spice to it, doesn't it? And adds a nice thing for Chelsea fans to sort of gloat about, because it was not only that, it's the young players Frank Lampard has brought into this side, and it very much feels like a vindication for Frank. It was a performance he needed. It was almost a result he needed because of all the good work Frank has done up to this point with the restriction of the transfer ban, in trusting in younger players who are going to give you poor performances but can give you amazing things if you give them patience and give them time. And I think that's the most incredible thing for me about the performance, was that some of those young players who Jose has admitted would have never played in his time as manager were stars. They truly were. And as well, I think across the team, I'm sure when that team news got announced, like most of us were shocked that Frank had opted to go to a three at the back. I did slightly mention it, but I'm not going to say I told you so, because I didn't pick a three at the back. I picked a 4-3-3, but Frank has used it now 3 times, and it's been pretty successful when he's used it. I think it's going to be intriguing how Frank utilizes that formation now going forward. Is it a formation he uses in a type of game like this, where we go away to a difficult ground to maybe isolate some of their threats because it works so wonderfully? Is it something he's going to use at home? But as we saw after the Wolves performance in September, he used it again against Valencia, where a team came to the bridge and were much more defensive, and Chelsea had to be much more assertive in that game, and we lost that game. But that's, of course, all for the future. But I really want to celebrate this game because I think in all aspects it was absolutely wonderful. Players all giving 8 out of 10, some of them for me higher than that. Certainty is the word I'd use about Chelsea's performance today. There's been so much uncertainty about Chelsea. They are a team that at times in games can look wonderful. They look like they're firing and they look like they can destroy and rip teams apart. But other times in that same game, you can see the other side of that. We look chaotic. We look almost out of ideas at points. And that's what's been alarming about the last few weeks, especially against inferior opposition. But Today, that performance never showed any of that uncertainty. This looked like a side who'd been playing together for a long time. This looked like an 11 who knew what they were required to do. And Lucas Moura, Harry Kane, Son, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen, when he came on the pitch, none of Spurs' best attacking threats ever got into that game. I think Jose Mourinho was absolutely perplexed, as his Tottenham players were in that first half, especially, as to what Chelsea were doing in terms of going out there with a three. I'm pretty sure he would have anticipated a two at the back, maybe gone with 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. And I think it really helped some of the players who've been performing poorly recently. I think Mason Mount, was let loose against Tottenham. I think being that inverted winger, helps him. He's such a direct player, and I think that Vertonghen, Alderweireld, they absolutely despised probably Mason Mount playing up against him. He was a menace up top for Chelsea today. He really chased down every loose ball, never gave Tottenham centre-backs a chance to pass out. That passive nature that we've seen recently with Chelsea, allowing teams to play, didn't happen against Tottenham. It seemed that every second ball that was there to be won, Chelsea mostly won it. There was no messing them out of the back. There was dominance at the back by all three of the centre-backs, who I thought done wonderfully well. Let's talk about some of the stars of the game, which of course is Willian, was man of the match. Of course, when he plays against Spurs, of course there's always that connection, and it's a lovely thing for Chelsea fans to see a player who nearly went to Spurs come back to haunt them, as he has done so many times for Chelsea. But I think just him, that symbolised his start to the season. He has absolutely earned that place this year in Frank Lampard's 11. He has acted with leadership. Being one of the senior figures in this squad, I think has really helped him, and I think has given him that responsibility that he needs to up his performance, because he knows that there are players like Callum Hudson-Odoi, like Christian Pulisic, who are breathing down his neck for those minutes, and I think that's helped Willian. Today he was unplayable. He was the best of Brazilian brilliance. He was that. Once he got onto his right foot in that first half, when Aurier let him go, you knew it was game over. He's so good when he gets into those positions, and of course stepping up and taking a penalty. But I think his all-round game, the passes he got through to the likes of Tammy and Mason, his all-round play was exceptional. It was a penalty all day. It was. I don't know what Anthony Taylor was doing, giving a foul against Marcos Alonso there. When you watch that foul over and over again, I think it gets worse. It's an assault. Anthony Taylor, thank God for VAR. As much as people don't like VAR, today, thank God for VAR on two occasions for Chelsea, because on another day, that gets given as a foul for Alonso, which is a ridiculous decision. We don't get the penalty. We don't make it 2-0, and the game could turn. Same with Son. I can understand maybe some people, Rudiger, making the most out of it. But if you're going to kick out a player in the ribs, I don't know what Son's complaining about, really. It's a stupid move from Son. And in the age we are now of VAR, you get what you deserve, and that's a straight red card. But those are all things that I'm sure people will make excuses for and say, oh, the game turned there. No, it didn't. Chelsea absolutely were dominant in that game. And 2-0, I think it points maybe flat at Spurs, because I think Chelsea maybe could have been a little bit more clinical, which is something we've said, but mostly they were absolutely deadly. I mean, that is me scraping at the surface in terms of complaints about the performance, because it was so wonderful. Of course, I think the one negative of the day that is going to be widely talked about, apart from the football, which of course is the racism Antonio Rudiger allegedly suffered. Of course, he went to the referee, or went to Dave first, told him about it, and then it was told to the referee. The game was stopped. It felt a lot like what was going on in Bulgaria earlier in the year, where the referee stopped play and went over to the fourth official to, I think then there was some sort of announcement. It's horrible that, not only one of the football players has been subjected to this, it's a reoccurring theme. I think that Gary Neville, perfectly summed it up on Sky Sports, a really honest and open debate about it. And I think more stuff like that needs to happen. And I think more pressure needs to be put on football governing bodies about this type of thing. More needs to be done. I think it's very easy to put on the PR type campaigns to raise awareness, but then we still have the same problems. And then there's a big outburst a big outrage, and everyone says how bad racism is. And then we have a short campaign about it, and then we go back to our old ways, forget about it. And then the same thing happens again. And the cycle repeats, basically. I think that's the key thing. And this is not about scoring points against any opposition fan base. We know this stuff happens everywhere. I'm sure even at levels we don't know. I've read articles about the lower levels of the game where there isn't media coverage on it and it sounds as, you know, horrible. Haringey, if you remember the walk off the pitch, I think it was a couple of months ago in the FA Cup. Something needs to be done. Something needs to change within the game if we're going to get any sort of change within football. But it goes wider than football, doesn't it? And I think that's the key issue. But it's upsetting. But, you know, I have to touch on it. I can't just brush it under the carpet because it's a big problem, and it's something that blights the game we all love and enjoy so much, and it tarnishes games like this because football's so much supposed to be about escapism and, you know, people coming together from all different backgrounds and enjoying the game. But clearly there are some people who still don't know that, who still see football as a chance to vent backwards thinking, basically. The result was so, I think, monumental, not only for Frank Lampard as a coach against someone like Jose, who he's 2-0 against now, not only for, I think, the younger players in the team, how much a big result at a top six side, I think, would help them in their development this year. But I also just think for the season, you know, we've gone through a difficult patch and you didn't want that going into Christmas and going into this tough winter period, considering we've got Arsenal soon as well. For all that good work to sort of be quickly evaporated as it can when you've got so many games coming so fast in this period of the season. So it's a big result in the battle for top four. Chelsea go into Christmas with a nice cushion once again over Spurs. Those scenes at the end with Frank celebrating so passionately are the things us Chelsea fans have been dreaming of. And these performances under Frank Lampard are the ones we dream of. These are the ones that we hope to see under Frank Lampard. And all of that wonderful work at the start of the year, we didn't just want that because of a dip in form recently to be just a small phase of the season. We wanted that to be indication that this side under Lampard is going in a really positive direction. And today reasserts that. It gets the monkey off Frank Lampard's back of not winning against a fellow top six side. He's got that now. The manner of the win as well, I think, is so impressive and so encouraging that Lampard, when he goes up against a manager like Jose Mourinho, he can tactically outthink him and can outdo him basically at his own game at points. I think all of those things are really encouraging for Chelsea fans, and let the Christmas celebrations start early. But Frank Lampard absolutely schools Jose Mourinho in Spurs' backyard. It's a very Merry Christmas for Chelsea fans. It's a nightmare before Christmas for Tottenham, and absolute perfection, really. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea, and I'll see you again.